This is question 5 of the November Year 13 applied mock. Now looking at this, we want to first establish the value of k. So let's work out the probability of x equals -1, x equals 0, x equals 1 and x equals 2. Probability that x equals -1 would be, using the formula, -1 squared plus 1 over k, which would give me 2 over k. The probability that x equals 0 would be 0 squared plus 1 over k, which would be 1 over k. Probability that x equals 1 is 1 squared plus 1 over k. That's, again, 2 over k. And the probability that x equals 2, there we've got 2 squared plus 1 over k, which is 5 over k. We then have to use the fact that the sum of these probabilities equals 1. So the sum of all the probabilities is going to equal 1. Therefore, we have 2, 1, 2, 5, 10 over k equals 1, which would give me k equals 10. We can then give the probabilities of these values as actual numbers. So we could say, well, the probability that x is -1 is going to be 2/10 or a fifth. Probability that x equals 0 is 1 over 10. Probability that x equals 1 would be 2/10, that's a fifth. And the probability that x equals 2 is 5/10, or if you like, a half. That still doesn't really answer the final question. The final question was, find the probability that y is greater than -3 but less than or equal to 2. Well, what we need to do is really find what those values are in terms of x. So I'm going to do a little table here to help out. I think this is the easiest way. We're going to use a little bit of coding here. So x can be -1, 0, 1 and 2. Using my coding here, when x is -1, 2 times -1, -2 minus 1, that gives me -3. When x is 0, y would be -1. When x is 1, y would be 1. And when x is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, minus 1 is 3. There you go. So let's look at those values. We want y to be greater than -3 and less than or equal to 2. Well, that 3's out for a start, so we can't have those. That -3, well, that can't be true. So we don't take x is -1. So the values that we can have are y would be -1 or 1, which would give us x can be, we want the probability that x equals 0 or x equals 1, which I've written there, which you can't quite see because I didn't have the video in the right place, but there we go. So let's have a look at what those are. X equals 0 is 1/10 plus x equals 1, which is 1/5. Well, that's 2/10, so that's going to give you 3 over 10. So I can write that in the form the question asks, probability that y is greater than 3 but less than or equal to 2. that's negative 3, sorry, is 3/10. Let's just review what we've done. We've found k, which was 10, just by using the sum of the probabilities is 1. That's in these random variable questions, that's always one of the tasks they tend to ask you to do. Find k. So k equals 10. We then have a coded part of the question where we're asked to find a probability that's in terms of y, given the coding from x to y. Well, we just can make a nice little table. Some people tend to do a little inequality, but I think you're just as well doing a nice little table for 4 values to be really clear what you're trying to get. And what I think here this tells you so clearly is that you need x is 0, x is 1, which we can then work out at the end. Always make sure you put your answer clearly. So that was question 5 of the November Applied Year 13 mock.